Hello everyone, so this is week 8, so we'll be going over baking. So first thing I just want to go over exactly what baking is, the process, the general sort of errors that most people encounter when they're first beginning to do this sort of stuff. So the general idea of baking is, how do I take the high detail resolution from a different model and reproject it back onto a low resolution model ready for use in rendering or games or any other kind of real-time environment. So, in that vein, we're going to start with some of my example models. So, we've got this low poly UV model of one of my characters, Moloch, and next to it we have the high resolution model that I sculpted in ZBrush. So, the idea is I want to take all of the high detail sculpting on this mesh, in the eyes, the face, and reproject it onto this character here. Because, take a look at the poly count, this character's head plus the eyes is roughly 20,000 triangles, which is relatively fine for a real-time application, a game environment or something like that. But on the other hand, we have something that here is, what, 20 million, 2 million, whatever that big number is, completely unrealistic for even film offline rendering. So you would never use this in any kind of practical application. So when dealing with baking, there are two things you need to actually get started. You need the low poly mesh with UVs, which is over here. So a basic UV layout that's using up the 0 to 1 space, no overlapping, and everything's sort of working like that. And you need the high poly to bake from. Now, one thing people sometimes get wrong is they sometimes believe that the high res mesh needs UVs. It doesn't. The high res mesh needs no UVs, even if it's all messy and just messed up like this. If you really want to, you can just go edit, delete the UVs, and that's that. So all you're looking for from the high-res mesh is the surface detail. That's it. Now, the low poly in the hand does need a properly UV'd layout with as few distortions as possible and an even distribution of textile density. So with that being said, what we're going to be doing over the next few videos is going over exactly what baking is, the sort of maps it produces, and I'll be doing a full tutorial on each of the 4 primary renderers that you might be using. That being baking internally in Maya using the Turtle renderer, baking in Mudbox using Subdivision or Ray Trace based projection, baking in Marmoset Toolbag, which is my personal preferred method of baking, and baking in Substance Painter directly. So with that, let's get started.